It is a very good topic, Sanjay. I am very thankful for the organizers for giving me this opportunity. With my limited experience of 2 decades as a scientist from CSIR as well as Ministry of Mines, 20 years, and this 1.5 decades as a professor, completing more than 100 projects, about a dozen ministry projects, including that. I can say a few issues how to catalyze our quality academic research. Number one point is very simple. Whatever BTech, MTech, or PhD topics, what we are assigning to our students, so that should be from the problems of the industry. Yeah, we have so many problems in the industry. Now we can give that problems as a topic of thesis or research, whether it is a BTech, MTech, or PhD. So that will be a very good catalyst, act like a good catalyst, so that industry oriented. Number two is I would like to add something more. Instead of only one department either guiding or even students, we can start like a transdisciplinary, translational, industry-oriented research and academic. That is a word I coined since 2006. Transdisciplinary, translational, industry-oriented research and academics. That is possible by only those type of faculty who understands the industry problems. So there comes the requirement of the third point. So for the third point, how to enhance the quality of our faculty to understand industry problems. Then there comes number three, we should have a very good program of even deputing or sending our faculty to different industries, let it be 1 semester or 2 semesters, and in turn we can take the services of officials from the industry in place of these people. Then that is a very good, definitely a very good interaction between industry and institute. That 3 Eyes program, whatever we used to say for a long time, over so many decades. So that 3 Eyes will be highly encouraged by this scheme, where I can send my faculty to the industries even a semester, and I can depute our officers from industry to our institute. Then that is a very good way of industry-institute interaction. So again, I can give so many suggestions based on my experiences. I hope let others also talk, and then we will discuss further.
Professor Singham sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, is my voice audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, you are audible.
बीच में आपका वॉइस नहीं सुनाई पड़ रहा था. So that's why I was showing this. Now it is okay.
Sir, can I have add something to your point, which you said for faculty visiting industry?
Yes.
Now the question is, why one faculty will visit industry unless he sees some incentives?
That is a good point. But the incentive is our basic education. Here I would like to say something more. In this generation, where so many books and explosion of information in websites are available, the role of teacher is not just teaching what is there in the books. And I also did MS counseling and psychotherapy, especially for my students' career counseling and educational counseling, where all our teachers should be a very good counselors. And now the advantage when they understand the problems of the industry is throughout their life next after that experience, whether it is 1 or 2 semesters, for those faculty who are not having industry experience will be tremendous. And I can give n number of examples based on my own experiences, because I was an assistant manager in 86 to 88 in the mines, in the largest mines in India, southern India, as a ventilation officer and machine mining district in charge. Then when I took up research as a scientist,
we'll have to
yes,
go to next topic,
right.
next track. OP, anything to add on this? Otherwise, I'm going to restructuring of curriculum.
Now, these three points.
Okay,
I
these
just
3
wanted to
points
add.
I'm going ahead.
Yes.
We want to have opinion on effective restructuring of the curriculum in higher education.
Sir, I will add a point to the previous.
Yeah, please, OP, please, jaldi karo.
Sir, actually, in Germany, what they do is they hire fresh faculty without any industry experience. But when the faculty goes for promotion, they ask for 1 year industry experience. So in this way, faculty will be forced to at least go to industry and acquire some monthly or 3-month experience, accumulate 1 year before he applies for promotion. So also we can also introduce a mandatory kind of rule that no problem, you are hiring you without experience, but before you come to the next promotion, get some industry experience while in the
Okay, I'm putting it down for consideration. OP.
Yes, sir.
These 4 points we will forward.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Then next track, we come to next track, that is
Somebody else is also saying excuse.
effective restructuring of the curriculum in higher education.
So here I can say a few points.
Jantu, let me see if somebody else has any opinion, then we will revert. If nobody has, then I'll come back.
If
Right,
anyone is interested, please raise your hands. We can pick it up easily from there.
Good afternoon, one and all.
Yeah,
Just I want to say that I totally agree with Singham Jayantu sir, as the practical knowledge is much important for the students and also for teachers also, I think. And that's
Okay,
why,
ma'am.
yeah, from the industrial point of some of the participants had raised question that why the industrialists they go for the academicians or why they go for the schools and colleges. In the sense here, we can see here the next generation, the employees and others, the holders of the economy, they come from the student point of view.
Okay. So I think with this we go to curriculum. Anyone on curriculum revision?
यस
Restructuring?
जो बात अभी चल रही है हम उसी को और एक्सटेंड करना
अश्विनी जी प्लीज बताइए इसमें रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग में कि कैटलाइजिंग में?
इसमें अभी जो बात कर रहे हैं इसमें इफेक्टिव रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग of the curriculum in higher education in accordance with provision of national education policy.
जी बताइए।
ये बात अभी जो डिस्कस कर रहे थे ये सही है कि इसमें जो प्रैक्टिकल वर्क है उसको मोटिवेट करने की आवश्यकता है, उसको प्रोजेक्ट के तौर पर हम ले सकते हैं और इंडस्ट्री में अगर बच्चे कुछ प्रोजेक्ट करना चाहते हैं तो उनको एक एटलीस्ट उनको बेसिक जो इंफॉर्मेशन है, बेसिक नॉलेज है इंडस्ट्री की, वो मिलना चाहिए। प्रिलिमिनरी इंफॉर्मेशन उनको देना चाहिए बच्चों को, जिससे कि वो आगे उसको बढ़ा सके। जनरली होता क्या है कि हम बहुत सारी बातें करते हैं और स्टूडेंट्स जो हमारे होते हैं उनका एक मेंटल आईक्यू जो होता है वो बहुत अच्छा होता है और उनके अंदर बहुत सारे जिज्ञासु प्रवृत्ति के बहुत सारे सवाल रहते हैं। तो यदि हम उनको बेसिक फंडामेंटल चीज को लेकर के इस कॉलेज और यूनिवर्सिटी और स्कूल जो कि नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में तीनों चीजें शामिल हैं, तो इनमें जो जिस स्तर से हो उस स्तर के इंडस्ट्री से उनको इंट्रोड्यूस होना चाहिए और उनको एक बेसिक टेक्नोलॉजी की जानकारी।
आफ्टर दुबे जी यू विल कम ऑन दिस टॉपिक। दुबे जी प्लीज। तो आई थिंक आपका पॉइंट हमको मिल गया है, विल इनकॉर्पोरेट दैट। ओम प्रकाश जी कुछ ऐड कर रहे हैं?
यस सर, जो सर करंटली हम लोग जो फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में फिर सेकंड सेमेस्टर पढ़ाते हैं, it is mostly theoretical, है ना, जैसे फिजिक्स केमिस्ट्री जो ऑलरेडी उनका बैकग्राउंड थोड़ा बहुत रहता है, लेकिन इंजीनियरिंग के साथ जैसे मेरे को मैंने कोर्स पढ़ाया है रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग, उसमें क्या करता है ना, we give students in groups different engineering products like mobile, TV, printer, and ask them to open and assemble it once more and make it to running conditions. So they get a lot of practical knowledge in actually dealing with the equipment hands on.
Perfect.
ऐसे अगर हम कोर्स अगर रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग टाइप का हम लोग कोर्स अगर इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं, it will be very useful for us to train their mind that what it involves to make a design or a product. Even sir, 1 rupee cost, when I was taking this course in IIT Mandi, I asked the student, please suggest one idea to reduce 1 rupee cost. It's not that easy to even think on that, how to reduce the cost, how mass production helps in reducing. All those things, idea can be imbibed in the first semester itself.
That's perfect.
For that we need to work hard on such kind of courses.
Perfect. Okay, so this I am taking. Can we move on to higher education in Bharati languages for unleashing untapped potential? जो रीजनल लैंग्वेज में एनईपी की बात हुई है, तो क्या अगर हम रीजनल लैंग्वेज में हायर एजुकेशन को करें तो बहुत सारे लोगों की प्रतिभाएं और उभर पाएंगी? एजुकेशनल सिस्टम पे अभी एक आरोप लग रहा है कि हम लोग बहुत स्ट्रेट जैकेटेड हैं असेसमेंट में लोगों के अचीवमेंट के। अभी मैंने कल एक वीडियो शेयर किया था कि आउट ऑफ मेनी काइंड्स ऑफ इंटेलिजेंस वी आर एबल टू असेस जस्ट 1 or 2 टाइप्स। तो वो चीजें क्या हम लोग अगर रीजनल में जाते हैं तो वो कुछ फायदा होगा?
सर मैं कुछ बोलना चाहूंगा।
जी
एक्चुअली सर ये जो लोकल लैंग्वेज की बात है, ये प्राइमरी एजुकेशन में तो ठीक है, सुटेबल है, उसके साथ में लेकिन हमें कुछ स्टैंडर्ड सब्जेक्ट जैसे इंग्लिश है उसको लेकर के चलना होगा, क्योंकि अगर हम एक विषय के रूप में हम इंग्लिश को लेकर के चलते हैं और अगर हमारे बच्चे लोकल लैंग्वेज में बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन गैदर करते हैं तो दैट इंफॉर्मेशन दे कैन कन्वर्ट इनटू इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज and that ideas can go outside also, local to vocal, as our prime minister said. तो हम उस बात को तभी आगे बड़े मंच पर ले जा पाएंगे जब हम अपनी बात को एक स्टैंडर्ड लैंग्वेज के थ्रू हम उसको लोगों के बीच रख सकें। दूसरा जो हायर एजुकेशन में लोकल लैंग्वेज का है, तो आई डोंट थिंक दैट इज नेसेसरी टू इंट्रोड्यूस लोकल लैंग्वेज इन हायर एजुकेशन, क्योंकि हायर एजुकेशन में तो बहुत सारी चीजें हमें विकसित करने की जरूरत है। अगर हम इंजीनियरिंग की बात करें या हम टेक्नोलॉजी की बात करें, रिसर्च की बात करें, तो वो सारी चीजों के लिए तो हमें एक इंटरनेशनल प्लेटफॉर्म पर आना हमें जरूरी होगा, अदरवाइज तो हमारी जो क्वालिटी है वो बहुत सीमित दायरे में रह करके सिमट जाएगी।
ओके, विघ्नेश्वर, योर ओपिनियन? विघ्नेश्वर,
good afternoon, professors. Am I audible?
Yeah, audible. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, one and all. I am Vigneshwar from Ramakrishna Engineering College, Coimbatore, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Actually, I need to start with this quote. We all know about Mailsami Annadurai. He is known as the Moon Man of India. Actually, he is from Coimbatore. In one press meet, a person asked him what is the reason for his success. He told he studied all the fundamental education up to his school level. He studied everything in Tamil medium. That is his mother tongue. That is the reason for his success. So yes. Actually, this is the important thing we need to understand, right? So in higher education, it is the time to prioritize Indian languages, and teaching and learning process need to be done in technical courses like medical engineering. Everywhere we need to use that mother tongue, that is regional languages we need to use, or else at least we need to translate the standard textbooks in regional languages. For this purpose we can use PhD research scholars, and we can give some amount as stipend. This will help for their research purpose also. And initially if we translate the standard textbooks in each and every engineering courses in Tamil languages, especially not only Tamil, in the respective region languages, it will be useful for the students who are coming from Tamil medium background or else from the mother tongue background. So I request you to implement this in this new educational policy.
Okay, we will send it to
I
it.
agree with
Our
previous
recommendations
speaker.
are going to go to Niti Aayog. So we will communicate this to them.
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
now coming next to Manhar, you were there in this higher education in Indian language. Okay, no issue. Then coming to inclusive education for a harmonious society. Any idea for this? Track 4? No worries. At track 5, developing motivated and capable faculty through pre-service and mid-service training. Any suggestion for this? Any suggestion for developing motivated and capable faculty through pre-service and mid-service training?
So what can I speak?
Mid-service and
Yeah. Please go
Can I
ahead.
speak, sir? This is
Please
Rakesh.
go ahead. Please go ahead.
So what I want to say over here is that what I have seen when we used to go for NITTR for some short-term courses like that. Are you talking in that terms only?
Could you please introduce yourself?
I'm Rakesh Mishra, Assistant Professor, Feroz Gandhi Institute of Engineering and Technology, Raebareli.
Okay, Rakesh, please go ahead. Yes, we are.
Sir,
we do mean that. We do mean that.
हाँ सर, तो इसमें सर जो सबसे बड़ा डिस्करेजिंग फैक्टर जो आता है जिसको गवर्नमेंट मस्ट एलिमिनेट, पहली चीज पार्टिसिपेशन फ्रॉम एवरी इंस्टीट्यूशन मस्ट बी मेड मैंडेटरी. Because what happens, most of the private institutions do not allow their faculties to go to and attend that NITTR. I have been there for a couple of times and I have interacted with the people over there. And the private college institutions, they desperately deny the accessibility to NITTR and these type of courses to their faculties. Now this must be made mandatory, and the affiliation process or any kind of this must be made inculcated into the affiliation process, that they have to give some of the faculties to NITTR for training.
Dr. Mishra, I have got your point. We'll go ahead with it. The last track we are going to quality university and colleges, track 6. We are to begin our valedictory. Our chief guest has already arrived. Dr. Tripathi is with us. So we'll be swapping to valedictory session directly. So this is over and we will be going to valedictory session.
Sir,
OP,
last
let me have last opinion from OP. He has raised his hand. OP, any more thing?
No, sir. That was for previous. I was just trying to understand.
Okay. Okay, if you have answered, please lower your hands.
सर वो कैसे करते हैं?
उसी जगह फिर से छू दो, गायब हो जाएगा जहाँ हैंड का किए थे. ठीक है, चलो. Okay. So now we are moving to valedictory. Over to Lavanya Selva Ganesh. Lavanya,
sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you all for your inputs. We couldn't have much detailed session this time, but we hope we have got enough inputs to forward to others. Yeah. So let me start the valedictory session. Just a second. Yeah. Okay. So to begin this session, our first event for the valedictory session is going to be a talk by our favorite professor, Professor Anil Kumar Tripathi ji. So before we go into his talk, let me give a brief introduction about Tripathi ji. Here, yeah, it has always been a honor and pleasure for me to have met him and to introduce our speaker, Professor Anil Kumar Tripathi ji. He did his MSc from Institute of Computer Systems, ONPU, Ukraine, and PhD from BHU in 1992. And he has been teaching and been part of the faculty fraternity since 1985. And till now, he has supervised around 21 PhD students have completed, and 4 more are in line. His main research interests are in parallel and distributed computing and software engineering, and he has a lot of feathers to his hat to say, like he has published more than 80 papers in journals of repute, and he has published book chapters, research monographs, etc. from very well-known publishers like Springer and John Wiley, USA. He had been serving our institute also as in administrative positions such as head of the computer center of BHU and head of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. And recently he got stepped out of his dean position. He was the dean of Resource and Alumni Affairs, and he was also an ex-president of IT Gymkhana. Okay. Further to say about him, he's not only just a scholar, he's a very good scholar, but he's also a very good person to be with. And whenever we go and talk to him, we'll always get some good ideas for our problems and, of course, for any generic administrative issues also. So, and it's been always a delight to listen to him. He's a very good orator. So, let me also add one more point here. He also knows more than 4-5 languages in which he is highly proficient, and his knowledge is incomparable in all those languages, I would say. So with these few words, let me now welcome Professor Tripathi ji to address the gathering here.
Thank you, Dr. Lavanya. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
It is a great opportunity for me to be talking to enlightened minds drawn from various disciplines and various institutions. I'm really thankful to organizers, Professor S.K. Sharma, Sanjay Sharma ji, Professor Ram Sharan Singh ji from Chemical Engineering Department, and colleagues. I have been watching the proceedings since morning, and it is a great satisfaction that the way people have come forward to put their heart and mind both together for the proper understanding of the roots of the new education policy, and the way the new education policy should be put in place so as to be able to transform the education, higher education in general, and particularly last that I was listening to the industry requirements for the purpose. I just recall that we are today meeting over this virtual platform. I was member of a standing committee of the National Mission on Education through Information Communication Technology of the then Ministry of Human Resource Development from year 2009 to 2014. And I remember that when we talked about online platforms, etc., people thought that casually some teachers would be making use of it. But today, you see, in the pandemic time, it is the method that has become a norm for engaging classes, for conducting meetings, etc. So I just wanted to say that many a times, the things that you think, explore and ponder over may not seem to be very useful, but later you may find a great use of the things that you thought over. So it is always good to keep thinking about transformations that the educational systems and the method of delivery of education, and possibly the overall development of mind and psyche of an individual has to be taken care of. Rather than going to various detailed discussions that have happened, I'm very sure that the recommendations that have come out, they would be going. I would be giving you the philosophy of the education policy that needs to be kept in mind while devising the mechanisms to implement the policy, the method of implementation of the policy. Factually, I would have loved to know this name as Education Policy 2020-21, as the new education policy would be going multiple transformations, and it may have multiple versions also with the experiences that will be gained and gathered. What are the objectives of educating a person? So factually, if we understand this, what does it mean is that we must assist, we must help a student, rather we must do some handholding so as to enable an individual to be able to translate her inherent potential into action. You see, many a times we are not aware about our inherent potentials, and sometimes because of the fear that one may have in mind, we are unable to translate into action our inner potential. I'll give you a small example that somebody first time goes and stands somewhere on a dais and has to sing a song may find it very difficult, just because the person has a fear psychosis that whether I will be able to sing properly or not, whether it will appear to be good to others. So this type of fear that is there, this inhibits the potential of individual in terms of what otherwise the person could have done. And that is where the role of a guru comes. Actually, that is why the saying that goes in Sanskrit, Sa Vidyaya Vimuktaye, knowledge is one that liberates. So you are just restricted by the types of fear that you have in mind, and the education system or the educator must come forward to remove those fears so as to make your inner potential get translated into action on its own. So that is what is the role of a guru also. Guru enables the learning. Guru does not provide you the learning. So you get the knowledge from there. So this translation of action into potential, in how many ways it may happen. This unleashing the potential of mind and psyche collaboratively may start happening if all those inhibitions that are removed. A small example would be that if you just look at a field, if you have got at the border on the four sides, you have made it so that the water enclosed in the field cannot come out. But if you just open the border at one of the places, the water would start coming out on its own. Similarly, if an educational system or a guru can remove these obstacles and hindrances that are there, the inner potential of a person, how the education system can do it, that is what we need to understand. Now let us look at knowledge as such. Knowledge factually, knowledge exploration may not be compartmentalized. It is very difficult to say that a person who is doing engineering is supposed to concentrate only on engineering. Doesn't need to know about society, sociology, history, and other things. And as we are aware today, that people have realized that the model of development that we have today in the world, if this model succeeds, then the society and the nature would fail. That is for sure. What it means is that if we give in very restricted area, in very restricted way, the understanding of a subject matter, then the person, rather than being useful for the society, may become a person who creates more problems than solutions. You create one solution, but you create 10 more problems out of that. That is why we say that the knowledge exploration may not be compartmentalized. We need to study, we need to divide them in engineering, sciences, then physics, chemistry, mathematics, mechanical, mining, just because for a human mind, it is not very easy to tackle the knowledge in its entirety. Just for that purpose, we divide into multiple parts. But should it mean that just because the exploration of knowledge in its entirety cannot be done by one individual person, should we not allow the person to explore with other things that may be required for his or her purposes? So in a way, we can say that regimentation of knowledge exploration or learning learning or knowledge exploration has been there in place for many years in our country also and various other places also, and that has more harmed the society rather than doing good. And there are many reasons why we could not do that. Factually, there are three important terms that I would be concentrating upon, that, and we call them as issues, challenges, and problems. Factually, what happens that there are concerns of individuals, there are concerns of societies. When a concern of individual, when you deal with a concern of an individual and society, because of the constraints and difficulties that form the challenges, the concerns become an issue. It is very simple to understand by an example that if I say that if some guest comes to me to my department and wants to pay a visit to a possible Vishwanath temple, this concern is a concern for me, but it doesn't become an issue because there is no difficulty in arranging a visit to Vishwanath temple, as we have a Vishwanath temple nearby. It's hardly 4 to 5 minutes walking that we can go to Vishwanath temple and pay a visit. So it is a concern, but it does not become an issue because there is no difficulty or constraint associated with it. But if somebody says that wants to pay a visit to Vishwanath temple in the city, then obviously it becomes an issue for me because it has got multiple difficulties of arranging travel to that place, then arranging a place in the queue, etc. There are so many things, and when it is closed, when it is open, at what time the crowd is too much. So the idea is that concerns of society and individuals, they are individualistic concerns. And if you take as a society as a whole, these concerns start becoming issues if there are constraints or difficulties. So I have a few examples drawn from the various situations where from these problems arise. So I will give you small examples for at various points of time, a person may find her inner potential to understand what really, where does my heart lie, what I really wish to do in my life. That is the type of situation arises, like somebody starts doing engineering and suddenly at first year or second year level finds that my interest is in writing history of engineering, right? And the person requires to go for writing history of engineering, although a student of engineering, but interested in writing history of engineering. And you see, when you are going to, or maybe make it simply interested in knowing history of engineering sciences. So one needs to know about the engineering technology things, the type of domains that may be there in engineering sciences. But at the same time, the learning of the tools and techniques that come, say, from sociology or say philosophy, that type of training may also be required. So in that situation, should the education system restrict the imagination of a person just because he or she has enrolled in say engineering sciences, in doing this type of exploration of knowledge? Or the educational system must come forward to support and nurture such thing. You may have seen there is a science journalist, Pallav Bagla. You may have listened to him many times. Whenever there is a nuclear explosion news or anything, any scientific development, mostly he appears on NDTV. You may have seen that he does it nicely. So, but should it be limited to work of an individual who is interested in working out these types of things? Should not the educational system come forward and nurture and support this type of urge of a human mind to deal with this type of requirement? Similarly, suppose a student of sociology gets interested in analysis of data that may be available regarding individuals, groups, crowds, etc. Suppose these types of situations may occur. Now, Data may be available, lot of data with the social computing, etc. are available. And now the student requires that he should be having an opportunity to learn and understand data analytics. So these ideas of data analytics and data sciences, should it be limited to the domain of people who are doing statistics, who are doing computer science, etc., to explore knowledge in those areas? If we restrict these types of imagination and these types of understandings, then obviously we are not allowing the proper development of the mind and psyche of an individual who is interested. That is why I said that the word new education policy is would have been better if it is only education policy, because we need to monitor these types of policies that need implementation in times to come, and the job is not very easy. Similarly, a data science person who has learned the techniques of data science identifies, and it can happen at any point of time. It may happen at the point when person is pursuing the bachelor or master's degree. It may happen at a time when the person is already working in some field and requires to attain. So educational system, just like banks today, do not have only a few products like depositing money, etc. They have got multiple types of banking products that are there. So that education does not mean that a student starts from class 1, goes to class 10, 12th, and then bachelor and master's program. Factually, the student, a person may remain a student up to age of 70, 80 also. So what may happen? That somebody who did data science and did it for general markets, etc., suddenly develops interest in studying the behavior of individuals, crowds, groups of people, etc., and wants to learn certain type of things like sociology, psychology, and say philosophy also. Although philosophy is required everywhere. So these types of examples give us. I will give you a little more idea about inculcating the interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary thinking. I heard that somebody was suggesting that rather than giving straight-jacketed knowledge of, say, mechanical engineering to a student, it will be better to give knowledge that can make him ready to solve problems that require interplays of multiple disciplines. So I will just give you the idea regarding what is the difference between multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, and interdisciplinary studies, and then give you an example of how such types of studies can be promoted. And Banaras Hindu University is actually a very great platform for this, where this is very easily possible, but in other institutions also it is possible. And how the mechanism should be evolved, how the governance policies should be identified, so as to be able not only to understand these types of educational requirements, but implement the policies. I am happy that the new education policy is interested in promoting that. It is trying to promote the harnessing of the inner potential of an individual, even if somebody has acquired education or somebody is acquiring education in his or native language. Am I audible? Because network is going in between sometimes. So
you are audible, sir. You are perfectly audible.
Okay, that's very good. So and now I started understanding that if the education is provided in language that is the native language of the child, the cognitive capabilities or the intellect faculty of the human mind develops mechanisms of newer and newer mechanisms of learning so as to be able to acquire knowledge. I will give you an example that encompasses, before I go to the example, I will tell you what is the factually meaning of multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary studies. If we have got a problem, or if we have got an issue, and problem associated with it can be subdivided into multiple parts, then there is a case that these multiple parts possibly may be tackled by different disciplines. In how many ways they can be tackled? That is the idea that leads to interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary. So when we talk about problems that need application of knowledge at the boundary of two disciplines, we are factually talking about interdisciplinary, that is not. Let us take other cases also where we require multiple disciplines knowledge, not only two disciplines knowledge to be made use of. So it is known as pure multidisciplinary, means trivially multidisciplinary, if the problem can be subdivided into multiple parts. Problems can be subdivided into multiple parts, and individual parts can be tackled by the persons of that discipline. What it means that we can have a logical and physical separation among the various problems, and the application of mind by individuals of these different disciplines means they don't need to possibly even interact with each other. Such type of approach is known as multidisciplinary, that rarely happens. In case of interdisciplinary, you do not require the two intellectuals of two disciplines to separately work. You require somebody to get trained in such a manner, or maybe two or more persons of two disciplines that have been talked about. They should apply the knowledge collectively. So they need to interact. They need to understand the laws of nature of the two disciplines and apply it together. Similarly, if there are such cross-cutting concerns related to a problem where you cannot give it to individual scientists or individual intellectuals of different disciplines, they all must come together and they all must solve. This type of area is known as transdisciplinary. So that is the basic difference between a rudimentary multidisciplinary approach and a transdisciplinary approach. I will give you an example also. Just look at literature studies. In literature, you will find that there are three types of writings that may happen, and that is very much related to the type of psyche that an individual may have. For example, there are three types of psyches that are known. One is known as choleric. Choleric is a person who gets annoyed and infuriated quite frequently. जिसको गुस्सा आ जाता है बहुत जल्दी जाके. Such people are known as choleric. Similarly, there is another class of people. Those are who are known as sanguine. Sanguine are the people. Those are ready to even to shed tears. I mean, they are emotionally very sensitive people are known as sanguine. And similarly, there is another situation of human psyche that is known as melancholy. That is very interesting, you see. And now if you see in the literature you find these three types of presentations of understandings of individual. There can be a passage that will be loaded with melancholy. There may be a passage that may be loaded with sanguine psyche, and similarly there can be some other text or writing that is a reflection of a choleric personality of the character we described there. So, and similarly, if you go to Ayurveda, you will find three traits of people described by Vata, Pitta and Kapha. Pittach are known to be people who have heightened bile secretion. Because of the bile secretion, such people get infuriated. Such people may engage into quarrels also. और गांव देश में कहते भी हैं कि इनकी बात पे परेशान मत होइए, इनको गुस्सा आ ही जाता है, इनका पित्त बढ़ा हुआ है. So people who have got heightened bile secretion, they are known as that of Pittach Prakriti. People who are of sanguine nature, it is because of the Kapha Prakriti. Kaphaj Prakriti leads to sanguineness. And similarly, those who have Vata Prakriti, they are normally of the nature that is known as melancholy. Now you see, very interestingly, if you take a piece of text, you see, I am just trying to show you that why a person who is working and how a transdisciplinary work is done. And these types of things are required not only in research. These types of situations should occur in professional life also, where you need to acquire knowledge of three things. I will give example of that also. So let us see how these things can be related. Suppose some friend of mine from some literary subject or some language subject, say Hindi or English, let us take example of Hindi, comes and says that Acharya Ramchandra Shukla had a bigger vocabulary than Acharya Hajari Prasad Dwivedi. Suppose somebody makes this statement. Normally, a supervisor of a PhD student may make such a statement to his PhD student also. Now the problem is that the poor research scholar does not know how many words she herself knows. She doesn't know of Acharya Ramchandra Shukla. So what will happen is she would put a question to supervisor that how do you know that vocabulary of Acharya Ramchandra Shukla was bigger than that of Hajari Prasad Dwivedi? Now what the teacher will have to say that I have read so many books of Acharya Ramchandra Shukla, and at the same time I have read very many books of Hajari Prasad Dwivedi also. So I know about the vocabulary of both, and I can safely say that the vocabulary of Acharya Hajari Prasad Dwivedi was bigger. Now you just see, if I catch hold of a programmer who can write a program to make a table, in the first column of the table, the distinct words used by Acharya Ramchandra Shukla would be written, and in the second column, the distinct word, the frequency of occurrence of those distinct words in the literature, in the literary writings of Acharya Ramchandra Shukla would appear. So by distinct word, what I mean in the first column, that one word would be appearing only once. And in the second column, the corresponding frequency of occurrence of that word would be appearing. Now you see how many good things are happening. You can find out what is the type of word that was favorite word of Acharya Ramchandra Shukla, the highest frequency of occurrence word. Similarly, you can find which was the least frequently used word by Acharya Ramchandra Shukla. And apart from this, you can find out the role of the words being used in expression of the psyche, sanguine psyche, the choleric psyche, the psyche of melancholy can also be interpreted by the use of words. If you have made such a table for the literary writings of the two literatures in 1960, and if you make the same table in 1965, you may find that some of the words have disappeared, and some newer words have been accommodated in the table that we have talked about. So you can see here, it can be analyzed for the purpose of the psychology, psyche. It can be analyzed for literary interest, and it can be analyzed for purposes like biochemistry also, because the type of psyche one person has, that type of behavior appears there, and the biochemistry of the body has a lot to do with the type of psyche a person would have. So you see, this is a good example of transdisciplinary approach. The same is happening in engineering sciences also. Today, if somebody is working in refrigeration engineering, the knowledge of adiabatic processes alone does not suffice for making refrigerator. Today's refrigerators are network ready, and they have artificial intelligence also included in them. So if you can program your refrigerator to have, say, 5 kilograms of say some vegetable, and to have, say, 2 or 3 kilograms of milk and other things. Now the refrigerator is network ready. So when you are traveling in your car, the refrigerator may contact you, and refrigerator may ask you to bring the required amount of milk, vegetable, etc. while coming back home. If you would say that I do not have time, then the refrigerator, just due to the virtue of being network ready, it can order that those many things from the departmental store, and the necessary money would be deducted from your account. The purchase would be done. When it is brought to your home has automation, and the refrigerator may ask the door to open a slit through which the things can be brought in. and the refrigerator can accommodate inside. So you see, having the knowledge of adiabatic processes only does not suffice. You have to have knowledge of multiple disciplines. It depends on what direction you want to give. So, there is a possibility of giving an opportunity to a student to design her own degree program, and this can be done from the school level itself. So, if somebody finds that his or her interest is, say, in analytics of the literary text at the 10th or 11th class, one finds the grooming can be done according to that. So, that is the newer type of scenario that is appearing. So, transdisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, and multidisciplinarity is now not only in the domain of research and investigative studies. It is something that is day-to-day need. Today, when a person is repairing a car, my car, having only the knowledge of simple automobile engineering does not suffice. There is so much of automation. There is so many other things that are going to integrate it. Similarly, and you see, Banaras Hindu University has been a pioneer in this. In our place, there was a common degree of mechanical electrical engineering. During that time, when nobody thought of it, because machines need power, and electrical mechanical engineering was a common degree. Today, the whole world is thinking in terms of that there should be one engineering degree program, because transdisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity is becoming order of the day. So these types of examples make us feel that there are multiple types of newer types of possibilities of identifying the potentials, inner potentials, and the education system has to translate into action those potentials and facilitate them. There are a few challenges also in identifying potentials and making provisions from them. As organization of courses, etc., are understood, there obviously there are great challenges, because earlier what we used to understand that there should be a department. Department should have its own laboratories. It should have its own classrooms, and then department would be able to provide education. Today it is changing. Classrooms are not there in the departments. There are lecture hall complexes where you have got small and big rooms, and people of different disciplines are coming and teaching. Students can take somebody's mic is unmuted. Okay, so the idea is where from this interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary required would be nurtured, and that is why the idea is that at the primary education level, let the learner create learning mechanisms. You see, in schools, we do not learn only newer things. We learn how to learn. And that is what is the great thing that happens in a classroom. When the little student gets up and asks a question, then when a teacher is replying, then some 10 other students understand that this was my question also. They never knew that this is my question. Some 10, 15 more other students would understand that they also have a question which is similar to this question. And some 10, 15 students would understand that they have a question which is different from the question.
Yes, sir, now you're audible,
yes,
sir.
now you're audible. Very clear, Swami.
Oh, sorry. For how many minutes I was not audible?
No, just 2 minutes, sir. Just 2 minutes.
1 or 2 minutes, sir.
It's okay. Yeah. Then I can tell you. So what I was telling about
sir, we'll also wind up, like you can take 5 minutes more, sir. Is that okay?
I would not take more than 3 minutes. Just a minute.
Thank you.
I would not. I'm about to complete.
Sure. Please.
It will not take much time. Just I have to open door. My wife has arrived from somewhere. For her, I have to open the door. So the idea was that this. I was telling that when a child learns in a school, say at the primary level or secondary level, then in the mind and psyche, the learning mechanisms are created, and those learning mechanisms are nurtured also at the secondary level. They should further be nurtured at the higher education level also. Here the problem lies: how does a child or how does a learner, even at the adolescent age, identify the inner potential that one has. How does one identify? There are difficulties. It is not very easy to identify. Many students, they end up taking mathematics at the intermediate level, but they later realize their heart lies in literary studies. So it is not very easy, and that is where the role of an educational institution and the role of gurus comes in identifying the inner potential and guiding. Like in our institution, we have got departmental undergraduate committees for these purposes, or postgraduate committees, where you talk to people and make them understand that what are the various possibilities that one can deal with. The society will keep finding newer opportunities, and the efforts will keep surprising us for these purposes. That is why what I say, that the education policy, when it is implemented, we should create tools and instruments so as to be able to monitor also how the implementation is going on. When the students, learners will have the opportunity of sound imagination in terms of identifying their inner potentials and the corresponding career paths, and the learning can be somehow custom made so as to be able to provide that type of learning and career path. So this type of identification and exploration of the inner potential and designing the career path individually. Today we are talking about drug design for individuals. So even drugs are to be designed as per the genetic code of people for individuals. And we have to talk about designing a curriculum for a student to be able to identify his or learning requirements and possibly possibly presenting a new career path that was unheard of. Who knew that you can have a transportation business without owning any car, without employing any driver? Today you have Ola cabs, etc. So newer types of careers, newer types of learning requirements, and this sheer need of transdisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity in the professional life, in the social life, etc., that we have to deal with is warranting that we should have the education policy. So as teachers who are going to participate in implementation of education policy, we need to widen our horizon. We need to appreciate that students may have different types of learning expectations and learning needs, and we need to, it is not an easy job creating such a permissive curricula, creating such, like every student who passes with a BTech degree does not go for designing a system. Some people would be maintaining, some people would be taking sales job, some psychological effect of the machines, etc., that have been designed. So different types of roles and responsibilities, different types of career paths are possible, and it will not be proper to say that one of them is inferior and others are great. All are great in their own rights. I welcome the idea of the education policy that needs to be more permissive. I wanted to talk a little more about how we can monitor the implementation of such policies with appropriate tools and instruments. On some other opportunity, we can discuss that, and you may also ponder over that. And I'm very happy that I was invited to be part of it, and I was invited as a faculty also to join it. I would have loved to listen to, and I did listen, but I did not participate during the discussions. Just I wanted to find out that I would be speaking something that has not been said earlier. So I thought that I should be speaking more on philosophy of the education policies that need to be implemented by the state governments and the Ministry of Education of the nation, keeping in mind the way world is going towards, and keeping in mind that the development itself has become a misnomer, that if the present model of development would succeed, the society and nature would fail. So we need not to straight jacket, and this has happened just because of straight jacketing of the curricula in and compartmentalizing. Actually, these are not departments that we have in institutions; they are compartments. So this compartmentalization and regimentation of higher education and education at the primary level has become a problem. Malviya ji used to say that education is like a tree. Higher education is branches and leaves, and it is strongly rooted in the primary education. The higher education derives and obtains its juices through the stem of secondary education. So we have to take a holistic approach and look starting from the root to stems to the branches and leaves. And I hope that I have been able to convey what I had planned in my mind up to some extent to you. Thank you for a very patient listening. And if there are questions, I will be happy to answer.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very informative and philosophical viewpoints of the national education policy. Next, we shall move to the next event of the program for the day. That is, since we couldn't have a detailed breakout session, our organizer, Professor Sharma ji, has noted down the discussions which came out of during the discussion session. So, I request him to give a brief on whatever he has noted down, which could be communicated to the Niti Aayog and others. Yeah. Over to you, sir.
Honorable Professor Anil Kumar Tripathi, who always sets the tone for intellectual journey amongst us. It's always pleasure listening you, sir.
Thank you.
And on valedictory, listening you is always setting us in a mood to go for another event. So we'll again come back to you and listen you in detail regarding philosophy of National Education Policy 2020 and how it can be rolled out. The standard operating procedure provided by Bharati Shikshan Mandal for executing this webinar on NEP 2020 wanted that we have a breakout session with 20 participants in each room. Unfortunately, we could not get sufficient number, and because it had to occur as per standard operating procedure, we merged all of them, and some of the suggestions that have come that will be communicated to Niti Aayog. The conclusions of what these tracks are will be sent to Niti Aayog, and therefore I am sharing these things track wise, what I have jotted down from the colleagues only. And so we start with track 1 that talks of catalyzing quality academic research. Entire research landscape and the ecosystem has to alter, because it is the research that sets the caliber of the society for generating income and handling problems, and the research mindset basically trains a society to respond to any problem that the society faces. And many a time the problems that are coming these days are having response time, I'll say 0-second response time. I was in flight industry, aerodrome industry, I was an aerodrome officer. So we used to say that in case of fires, airplanes provide you 0-second. So you have to be more prepared before the problem arrives. And COVID-19 has given you such a challenge to the whole civilization and our educational setup and learning and research and everything. Again, we responded well. If you see Indian case studies, we were able to respond well with the resources that we had. Because, but still that's not enough. Because if 7 billion people have to be on earth and be sufficiently comfortably and live with pleasure, then and without climate change, you have to have smart mobility, e-mobility, green I'll say transportation, and you don't want the smog in winter in Delhi and Beijing, then in that case the entire research landscape needs to change. And that's what if you're with data science, industry 4.0, entire I'll say the domain in which education and research has to occur has to change. And therefore, track 1 becomes extremely important. That is catalyzing quality academic research that begins with setting agenda for research, allocating resources for research, and continuously keeping the researchers motivated, because research per se is a very frustrating kind of activity. It doesn't have the glamour of film world. So in spite of all those, like I know some of my colleagues, they say that we used to walk miles and miles on khatchars and donkeys to get some things from Ladakh. And there was no person, nobody would recognize you. If you achieved something, somebody will recognize you. Otherwise, you are lost ignominiously. So it's only the successes are written and appreciated in the area of research. To every success, there are multiple failures. And therefore, a researcher needs to be motivated to fail multiply, fail miserably, and even without resource. One should be persistent to attempt to attain the desired agenda. So with that, I'll say what people have said. Jayantu said that we will give words. These are just the bone. Meat will be provided to us, and trust us to do that. So I'm just going what I noted down. We said that Jayantu said that BTech, MTech, and PhD should be from industry-related projects only. This we will see. Second, transdisciplinary, transnational, industry-oriented research should only be carried out. Then third, how to enhance quality of teachers. That there was not much. In this, OP said that 1 semester deputation, 1 year deputation should be there in industry. Fresh faculty may be taken without experience. And 1 year should be mandatory before the person is permitted to go for promotion at next level. Jayantu said that 1 semester or 2 semester deputation of the industry faculty may be made to industry, and industry people may be brought to faculty. So these are nice suggestions. We will word them well and send it forward. Then OP also talked about your theoretical courses being too theoretical, so things like reverse engineering, etc., should be introduced. Then we had an interesting suggestion from I think Vigneshwar from Coimbatore, who talked about Moon Man of India, and he said that Moon Man of India was successful because most of his fundamentals were obtained through Tamil. So significance of regional language cannot be overemphasized. Gandhi said in one of the speech that a person loses 6 years of his life in trying to learn English, and those prime 6 years can be very, very usefully deployed to learn the subject with much strength. And therefore, this mother tongue and regional languages must be brought as a tool to understand technology and professional courses. To begin with, it's appearing tough, but once the process and practice starts, it's not that tough, as our director said in the morning. Now, once we go into this path, then the Lok Vidyas will also be standardized, and that will benefit the whole society and also the globe. So with this, I will go to next track. People said that private colleges are denied. One of the concerns was shown that private colleges were denied to take trainings at NITTR. So we are just nucleating this issue, and we will try to formulate and have a discussion amongst organizing committee members and come out with more comprehensive opinions on these tracks. So with this, I will wind because there were not much suggestion and discussions. So we will wind it up, and I think we'll try to put it in public domain through email, whatever we are sending to Niti Aayog after a thorough discussion and proper wording. So with this, I stop. Over to Lavanya. Thank you, Lavanya.
Thank you, sir, for a nice briefing of the session.